Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Coming at you with a bit of a different horror movie review. This is a film that I've been interested in a while, but the DVD's been out of print for some time. And so I haven't been able to get it, but it was on YouTube, found it, so. And it's a film from 1955, and it is called, don't own it, so we gotta bring it up. The 1955 film Dementia, aka Daughter of Horror. Now, this is what's known as an experimental horror film, which means its style is very different. It's self-explanatory. But this is an interesting mix of different styles. Example, first and foremost, horror. Lots of noir. It is very much a noir film. And expressionist. So, take a noir film, take a movie like Psycho, and take like Nosferatu. Well, not Nosferatu, probably Caligari. Even that doesn't quite make sense for what it's like. The whole vibe I got from it was it's kind of like Eraserhead in the 50s. Basically. It's a very short film, and it's less than an hour. This says 58, but YouTube said 54, 56. It was actually directed by someone John Parker. Written, directed, and produced by John Parker. Also produced by Ben Roseman and Bruno Ve Sota. Which that name sounds familiar. Oh. Okay, he's been involved in 15 films by Roger Corman, so there's that. But anyway, this is a very interesting movie. It takes place over the course of one night, and it follows a pretty mentally disturbed woman as she goes through, Skid Row. It's her night on the town and what she experiences. And okay, that's why it sounded familiar. It's narrated by Ed McMahon, and that's the only dialogue, I guess, in the film, because there is no dialogue. It's once in a while you get just some voiceover. It's kind of poetic at times, haunting in others, and it's not throughout the film. It's just in various parts. Sometimes it's distracting, other times it does enhance the scene. Basically opens up with she's having a nightmare at like a beach, and there's actually a few shots of this. The wave crashes over her, but she's like superimposed. But then she wakes up, and we get that she's not alright, because she's walking down, she gets ready, and there was something I was going to mention as she's getting ready, but I can't remember what it was. I was watching this and trying to do something on YouTube at the same time, so I kept pausing it. It took me like almost 2 hours to watch a 56-minute movie because I kept fucking with this thing. Anyone out there that can help me? I have a Kindle Fire 8, I think it is, HD 8, and I can't do anything with YouTube. Keep saying redirected too many times. I have literally done every trick in the book. I'm trying to get it so I can do the COPPA shit, but it's not letting me, so whatever. So yeah, I did forget a little bit about the beginning. But she walks out into the night. There's a little person giving out newspapers. So the headline is "Mysterious Stabbing," and she gets a very sinister grin and starts laughing. And so just from that, I love the look of the film. It looks great. It's another one of those movies, like reviews I've done lately, like Carnival of Souls. What was that other one I did recently? Pretty much saying like George Romero or Eraserhead. Had very much a look like that. Like, Night of the Living Dead is a black and white film, but it looks very different. It looks low budget, looks experimental, has a different feel and a different vibe. What was the other one? Dementia 13. So yeah, you have movies like Psycho and the Universal Monster films even. They're black and white, but they look great. Then you have these low budget ones, these experimental ones that just feel gritty. They look different. Carnival of Souls, Dementia 13, Eraserhead, Night of the Living Dead, and this. There were scenes that felt very George Romero watching this. And then there were other parts that felt very David Lynch. She goes into this one place and there's this overweight pimp, kind of looks like a Vincent D'Onofrio. He buys her a flower, and then they get into his limousine, and this is like the surrealness. She kind of like puts her head down and she goes inside her like mind, and she's led through a foggy forest by a guy in a suit with either, again, like when I watched my last review, which was The Old Dark House, my Wi-Fi on my TV isn't the best, so the quality was kind of shitty. But so I couldn't tell if it was just like a black mask or like black pantyhose or something, but pretty much imagine like a reverse a Slender Man, just a black head in a suit. He's leading her through this foggy forest that has a cemetery in it. And the voiceover is saying about evil and whatever. It's like, let's take you back to Father. And it shows like tombstone that says Father. And this whole sequence I thought was very interesting because we get to know who her father is and her mother is and why she's kind of fucked up. The father, like, he's in bed, he takes a drink, he walks up to her, and he just starts beating the hell out of her, just slapping the shit out of her. And then, he's trying to, make out with his wife, the woman's mother, and she's just a woman. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this review, but I'm frustrated with this fucking thing. I'm tired. She keeps trying to push him off. He sees a cigar on the table that's not his, so he shoots her, shoots his wife, and then the woman stabs him with a switchblade. But the interesting thing is, it's still in the foggy forest. So like when he's in bed or on the couch with her or like the dinner table, it's still in the foggy woods. So it just adds that layer of surreal, not quite absurd, but definitely surreal. Just kind of that like a Lady in the Radiator kind of Eraserhead vibe. And then the film just goes on. They're back in the limousine. She's with the pimp. They go back to his place. He ignores her and just eats his food. She stabs him. And as he's falling out the window, he grabs onto her pendant. Falls. falls, I'm assuming a very high story. She goes down to get her pendant, but it's like a dead man's grip, so she has to hack his hand off with her knife. You don't see it, but it's implied very well. And all the while, you had the voiceover. I know I said it's not constant, but at points like this, it can be. And, then she's chased by a cop car with a spotlight. And I like how the spotlight was filmed because, it's an old black and white movie, so all around her is just black. You just get that little round part of light. It's kind of shaky, so just that low budget charm. And then she gets to this jazz club, and I guess this is where the anxiety comes in. It's also the narration keeps calling her the daughter of horror. And I don't really remember any quotes from the voiceover, but some parts, like I said, are more poetic, kind of like a Rod Serling Twilight Zone kind of a monologue. Other times they're just pretty straightforward. But I think this is where her mind starts collapsing on her, because, it's like the voice of Ed McMahon, the narrator, is talking to her. It like you get these weird camera angles of like up close to people, and it's like kind of low and coming up. But in unison, the jazz audience is all pointing to her and like pointing and laughing. Then they point over here, and the pimp that she stabbed is like outside a window. It's like, your latest victim. And he goes to point at her, but it's a stump. And then the movie ends with her waking up in her bed. It was all a dream. Which her bed's actually in a hotel. Camera pulls back. Her lights are flickering. We hear her scream. And it ends. But, I definitely got the horror vibe. Definitely noir. It's definitely a noir film. I saw the German expressionist with some of the camera angles, and also like the sound, because it does have an ominous. I've said this with Dementia 13. I said this with Carnival of Souls. That George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, like not opening credits, but like after Tom and Judy blow up in the truck in Night of the Living Dead, and the zombies are eating them, that kind of score, just that low, ominous, foreboding kind of score. He did a good job at building tension. I thought it, we don't know anything about this woman in the beginning. We're just following her. And just for that first thing of her reading the newspaper about a stabbing and laughing at it, all the way through the rest of the film, it's like, okay, we're sort of descending into this pit of hell, or dementia, I guess, with her. It, like, at the end, like, with the voiceover and the jazz audience pointing and laughing at her, and the camera gets really crazy too, because like it shows her panicking, and at least the way I saw it, I could be wrong, when it's showing them, it's still kind of cameras doing stuff like this, but like when it shows her, it's very, I was gonna say intimate, but I guess it's more like a violation kind of camera angle, because it's like really close, it's kind of shaky. So I actually really enjoyed it. And actually, as far as like horror films from the 50s, excuse me, from the 50s, which is one of my least favorite decades, apart from like the last 30 years, from 90s on. 50s is one of my least favorite decades. because I'm not really a fan of like the sci-fi stuff, like, you know, aliens and like giant of of nuclear creatures. So I would definitely say, like, from the 50s, this is one of the better movies. I mean, uh, I do like The Thing from Another World, Creature from the Black Lagoon, House of Wax, and of course the Hammer films. But apart from those and like the classic Vincent Price movies, this one really sticks out. It sticks out as much as like Eraserhead does of the 70s. Or how like Night of the Living Dead does in the 60s. So it's just one of those really experimental, you know, weird or surreal films. Like Night of the Living Dead isn't quite that far, but I would almost put it in the same category as like Eraserhead, just not as balls to the wall crazy as that. Yeah, I think the DVD is out of print, but it's on YouTube. It'll be under Dementia and Daughter of Horror. In fact, this company, Kino Video, they do a lot of the really old stuff. Like, all the stuff I've seen from YouTube has been through Kino Video. But I really recommend this. And the fact that there's no dialogue in it makes it very interesting and even more... makes it just as intimate as it is... I don't really know what the opposite of intimate is, but you always... all kinds of mixed things. It's very interesting. Especially since, you know, they would never do a movie like that today. I don't even think indie films would try to do that today. With what Hollywood calls low attention span theater. How you always have to constantly have talking and action because people can't pay attention and enjoy a movie. Or enjoy what the filmmakers are trying to do. They need... they either need Vin Diesel driving, a Transformer exploding, or Adam Sandler getting hit in the balls. That's all people want now. Or an Avengers film. Granted, this did come out 64 years ago, but I just thought this was a very interesting and unique movie. Or film. But I actually really enjoyed it. And especially if you're into the more experimental stuff, definitely check it out. But anyway, I know I sound terrible. I gotta get some sleep. But that is Dementia, aka Daughter of Horror, 1955. Thanks for watching.